Once upon a time, there was a little boy who didn't think it was important to have food and water on hand in case of a disruption in the supply chain or basic services. All the other little boys and girls teased and laughed at him for being unprepared, which they should, because he's wrong. The end. Well, it's story time here at Great Lakes Prepping, and in this video I wanted to talk a little bit about your prepping library. Now, I've got a little bit of a library started here so far, and I'm definitely interested in expanding it further, but I think I've got a pretty good start. I wanted to show you what I got so far and a couple of the different categories of books that I have. But I also want to invite anyone else who's watching this to tell me what I'm missing. I know I need some more information, and when it comes to prepping, information and knowledge and skills are going to be more valuable than anything that I can prep or stockpile or hoard. So tell me what you think. But for those that are interested, I'll go through what I have. I kind of broke them down into categories here. We have, vegetable gardening. I've done a bit of gardening in my life, but there's a lot of things I've never tried to grow. And this book, well, I don't know if I'm a dummy, but if it's good enough for a dummy, I guess it's good enough for me. It's a good place to start anyway. But I also got these couple of books, The Forgotten Skills of Self-Sufficiency, as written by the Mormons. Say what you want about the Mormons, but they quite literally wrote the book on prepping since long before we ever called it prepping. Urban Homestead, this one's pretty cool. It talks a lot more about container gardening and how you might grow vegetables and things like that in a much smaller amount of space. Moving on, I've got some books that are, I guess you can call them cookbooks or food processing books. Basic butchering, dressing and cooking wild game. And I know how to take apart a deer real well and all sorts of fish, but it occurred to me I've never dressed or filleted or really done anything with any kind of game birds or a pig of any sort. It's just information, knowledge I'd love to have. So I got these books, and I'll be honest, I haven't read all of them yet, but well, I'm hoping to sometime soon. The Prepper's Cookbook, this one's pretty cool. It just talks a lot about how to take your stored goods and turn them into some pretty good recipes. This book here actually came with my Excalibur food dehydrator, and it's just an awesome book. I mean, it is a seriously thick book. It talks about the principles of dehydrating and everything that goes into it. It's got lots of color pictures and talks about just about every kind of fruit, vegetable, meat, nut, anything that you might want to dehydrate. It talks about how you have to prepare it and treat it and do everything throughout the dehydration process. Moving down the line, here's some of the more survival and wilderness survival type books. These are fun. I wouldn't call them the most vital in my collection since I'm in more of a suburban environment, but they're pretty interesting nonetheless. This bushcraft book is cool. It doesn't go into as much detail as I would hope considering how thick it is, but it's pretty cool if you haven't had any real exposure to bushcraft. The Ultimate Survival Manual, this touches on a little bit of everything. I mean, it talks about how to survive a flood, how to get out of a forest fire. It's just a million different scenarios. It's pretty handy, but again, it doesn't get all that deep. Anyone with, I don't know, half a brain and a little bit of experience, it's probably not going to tell you a lot you didn't already know. And then here's the good old Boy Scout handbook. I've had this for a long time, and well, whether or not you were in the Boy Scouts, there is a ton of knowledge in here, and it's framed up for a teenager to understand. So I think I'm almost in good shape to be able to follow it. No, it talks about everything: knot tying, first aid, just anything you can imagine that the Boy Scouts would learn. It's in there. Moving up to here, here's some books that are a bit more about defense and preparing your home, security measures, that sort of thing. This book here, it's kind of interesting, but it was sort of a disappointment. It's more about trying to organize a community emergency disaster preparedness plan. It talks about meeting with city officials and trying to establish a real legitimate community plan. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but there's probably about 30 pages in here that are just the copied verbatim text from the forms that you have to fill out to start a 501(c) nonprofit organization. And why on earth that there's so many pages wasted on that, I'll never know. But it's kind of interesting, but it doesn't really provide much information that I found particularly useful. This one's pretty good. Again, it doesn't get that specific. It's just got the basics. If you've watched a half a dozen YouTube videos on the topic, you know everything that's in this book. Now, this book I like a lot. It doesn't look particularly fancy. It's very simple. It's not even that thick of a book, but it's very concise, and it's written in a way that most people can follow it, even if they're not military or ex-military. This was actually written by a very popular YouTube prepper that you may know as Southern Prepper 1. This is his book, and it gets very in-depth about security and small unit tactics. It has illustrations about moving in formation if you're in any kind of a threat environment. Well, I can't do it justice by explaining it, but it's a pretty good book. If that's the sort of thing that interests you, it's good knowledge to have. Moving over here, this is the ARRL ham radio license manual for the technician level. I bought this book when I was studying for the ham radio exam, and honestly, half the stuff I learned I've already forgotten. But it's all in this book. Anything I need to know, if I need to use my little ham radio, or really, it talks about all the basics, the fundamentals of electricity and radio communications, just about everything. It's a good one to have. And if you haven't thought about getting your ham license, look into it. It's not that bad. You can't be a complete doofus. You have to have at least a partial brain, which is what I claim to have. And I passed. So the last book, I don't even want to give this book any notoriety, but I figured I'd mention it since it's in this stack of books here. I bought this book because it claimed to be all about the sort of anti-prepping mindset of marauding. The description on Amazon claimed that it was going to talk all about how while we're the fools for prepping, the marauders are going to be out there waiting in the shadows to, cut our throats and take what we have and so forth. So I thought, well, let me get a little bit into the brain of someone who thinks that way, and I bought this. And what it turned out to be was just the biggest pile of crap of a book you've ever heard of. I don't know who this guy is. I don't think he's anybody. On his author description, he claims to be ex-CIA. In this book, he claims to have been a super undercover, deep cover agent who was regularly in contact with Pablo Escobar. And it is full of, quite plainly, the most ridiculous and made up and poorly written fake stories you've ever heard. And he hardly brings it back and ties it into marauding in a shit hit the fan scenario. So if you've ever thought you might want to pick this one up, oh my God, just don't bother. Maybe I'll use this as kindling if I'm ever really, you know, desperate, or maybe not even that desperate at all. I might just, I don't know, throw it in the fireplace right now. Now that I think about it, I haven't looked at this book in quite some time, and now I'm getting annoyed all over again at how bad it was. But anyhow, that's what I got so far. I don't know, there's about a dozen or so books here. Here we got my assistant telling me it's time for some treats or something. I'm not sure what she wants, but here we go. Let me know what you think. Tell me what I'm missing. I know you guys have some great ideas, and I think I got a good start, but I want to grow my little library. So that's it. See you next time.